I am standing at a crossroads that feels less like a choice between two roads and more like a chasm I must leap across, a leap that terrifies me not because I am afraid of falling but because I am afraid of landing somewhere that was never meant for me, and I am a PCB plus psychology student who has just graduated from school and am currently taking a drop year. A year that was supposed to be filled with focused preparation for the NEET exam but has instead become a period of profound and unsettling self-reflection, a year where the expectations of my family have begun to feel less like a guiding hand and more like a weight pressing down on my chest, and today I had a conversation with my uncle that truly opened my eyes, a conversation that cut through the fog of obligation and familial expectation and allowed me to see, perhaps for the first time, the distinction between what others want for me and what I want for myself, and I realized with startling clarity that I want to do something that I want to do, not what anybody else wants me to do, not what tradition dictates, not what my parents have dreamed of since I was a child, but something that resonates with my own soul, something that makes me want to wake up in the morning with a sense of purpose rather than dread. And this realization has thrown my carefully planned future into disarray because I am currently preparing for NEET, a path I have been walking for months, a path that leads to becoming a doctor, and becoming a doctor is not my dream, it never has been, it is my parents' dream, their hope, their vision of success, and I have been trying to make it my own, trying to convince myself that I could be happy in a white coat, trying to imagine a life of long shifts and endless study and the immense responsibility of human lives, but every time I close my eyes and picture that future, I feel nothing but a hollow emptiness, a sense that I am living someone else's life, and I am fortunate because financially, we are more than stable. Money is not an issue. My parents are not pushing me toward medicine because we need the income. They are pushing me because they believe it is the best path, the most prestigious path, the path that will secure my future and make them proud. And I understand their perspective. I truly do. They have sacrificed so much for me and they want to see me succeed in a way that is tangible and recognizable. But I cannot keep living my life for them. Cannot keep suppressing my own desires in favor of theirs, because that path leads only to resentment and regret, and I have been thinking deeply about what I actually want, and I have realized that I want to do something greater, something where I will grow every single day, where I will have time for myself and my family too, where my work will not consume me but will nourish me, and the vision that keeps emerging in my mind is that of becoming an educator, not like the ones we had in school or the ones at coaching centers, not the kind who simply deliver lectures and assign homework and measure success by test scores, but something different, something more meaningful. I want to be an educator who inspires curiosity, who makes learning an adventure, who connects with students on a human level and helps them discover their own passions. And I want to start with younger kids because I believe that the foundation we build in childhood shapes everything that follows, that the way we are taught to think and question and wonder when we are young determines the adults we become, and I want to be part of that formative process, want to be the person who makes a child fall in love with learning, want to be the one who shows them that the world is full of wonder and that they have the power to explore it, and I know that to do this, I need some value, some credibility, some way to prove that I'm not just another well-meaning amateur but someone who has the knowledge and training to actually make a difference, and I do not want to do a BA or just a simple BSc. I do not want a degree that feels generic or that does not challenge me. I want to go to a place where I can meet people who are like-minded, people who are passionate about education and learning and growth, people who want to learn more and who will push me to be better, and I need a degree that will add value, a degree that will make people trust me, because trust is even more important than we think. Trust is the currency of education. Trust is what allows a teacher to reach a student. Trust is what makes parents feel safe leaving their children in your care. And without that trust, none of the rest matters. And people have suggested various paths to me. They have mentioned ISA and NISA, the prestigious research institutes that offer integrated science programs. They have said that I could do MBBS and then do something else afterward, that having that medical degree would open doors even if I do not practice, that it would give me credibility and authority in any field I chose to enter, and I understand the logic. I understand that a medical degree carries weight, that it signals intelligence and dedication and competence, but I also feel that doing something you do not love for 5.5 years is a recipe for burnout and misery, that the years of medical school and residency are grueling even for people who desperately want to be doctors, and that to put myself through that when my heart is not in it would be a form of self-harm, a way of punishing myself for not having the courage to follow my own path, and I have been reading about the alternatives, about the BSMS integrated programs at IISERs and NISA which are focused on research and interdisciplinary science, and those appeal to me because they would allow me to stay connected to the subjects I love while also developing the kind of deep understanding that would make me a better educator. They would put me in an environment of intellectual rigor and curiosity, surrounded by people who are genuinely passionate about science and learning, and I think about the various fields I could explore, about biotechnology which is at the forefront of innovation, about microbiology which helps us understand the invisible world that shapes our lives, about environmental science which addresses the urgent challenges of our time, about psychology which helps us understand the human mind and behavior, about forensic science which applies scientific thinking to the pursuit of justice, about genetics which is unlocking the secrets of life itself, about nutrition and dietetics which help people live healthier lives, about bioinformatics which combines biology with cutting-edge technology. And I realize that there is a whole world of possibility beyond the medical degree, a world that I was never shown because all anyone ever talked about was NEET and MBBS, and I also think about the evolving nature of education itself, about how the role of a teacher is changing in the 21st century, about how there is a growing demand for educators who can weave together different disciplines, who can connect science to real-world problems, who can integrate coding and AI into the curriculum, who can teach not just facts but ways of thinking. And this is what is meant by STEM education, the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into a cohesive, interdisciplinary approach to learning. And I read about how schools across India are no longer looking for just a science teacher or a maths teacher. They are increasingly seeking a STEM educator or STEM coordinator who can design project-based learning experiences, who can incorporate robotics and IoT into classroom concepts, who can help students see how the things they are learning apply to the real world. And this shift is being driven by the National Education Policy 2020's emphasis on experimental and inquiry-based learning, by the introduction of coding and AI into the curriculum by the CBSE, and by initiatives like Niti Aayog's Atal Innovation Mission, which is setting up tinkering labs in schools across the country. And I realize that this is an exciting time to be entering the field of education, that there is a real opportunity to shape what teaching looks like in the future, to move beyond the rote memorization and exam-focused approach that has dominated Indian education for so long. And I think about the training I would need to be effective in this role, the teacher training programs that are now available that focus on interdisciplinary teaching techniques, design thinking, project-based methodologies, and practical skills in AI, coding, robotics, and simulation tools. And I also think about the importance of working with younger children, the early childhood and elementary education stage, where the foundations of a lifelong love of learning are laid, and I learn about programs like the Nursery Teacher Training, NTT, the Primary Teacher Training, PTT, and the Nursery Primary Teacher Training, NPTT, which are designed for exactly that age group. And I learn about how the National Education Policy 2020 has mandated that all pre-primary teachers hold an early childhood care and education qualification, and how this is increasing the demand for certified early childhood educators. And I think about how I could combine a strong science background with specialized training in education, how I could be someone who not only understands biology but also understands how to teach it in a way that captivates young minds, how to make science come alive for children, how to foster their natural curiosity and help them develop the critical thinking skills they will need for the future. And I think about the Integrated Teacher Education Program, ITEP, that is being introduced under NEP 2020, a 4-year program that combines subject knowledge with teaching methodology from the undergraduate level itself, a program that is set to become the minimum qualification for all new teachers by 2030, and I think about how that might be the perfect path for me, a way to get a rigorous education in science while also receiving the specialized training that will make me an effective educator. And I also think about the alternative paths I could take, about the possibility of doing a BSc in a subject I love and then doing a master's in education or a B.Ed, about the possibility of doing the ISA or NISA integrated programs and then moving into education, about the possibility of building expertise in a specific area like biotechnology or environmental science and then using that expertise to educate others. And I realize that there is no single right answer, no one path that is clearly superior to all others, but rather a range of options that I must evaluate based on my own values and goals. And I think about what I really want my life to look like, and I realize that I want to wake up each morning excited about the work I will do. I want to feel that I am making a difference in the world. I want to have time for my family, for the people I love, for the simple pleasures of life, and I do not believe that a medical career would give me those things, not with the grueling hours and the immense pressure and the constant demands on your time and energy. And I think about the doctors I know, about how exhausted they always seem, about how they are constantly on call, about how they sacrifice their own well-being for the well-being of others, and I admire them, I truly do, but I do not want that life for myself. I want something different, something that feels more balanced, more sustainable, more aligned with who I am. And I think about the conversations I have had with my parents, the conversations where I try to explain that I do not want to be a doctor, and the looks on their faces, the disappointment, the confusion, the sense that I am rejecting something precious. And I think about how my father wants what he thinks is best for me, how my mother imagines a future for me that is secure and respected, how they have had this vision for so long that it is hard for them to let it go. And I think about how I need to be patient with them, how I need to help them understand, how I need to show them that my path, though different, can still be meaningful and successful. And I think about how I am not rejecting their love or their sacrifice. I am simply trying to live my own life, to find my own way, and I hope that eventually they will understand, eventually they will see that my happiness matters too, eventually they will support me even if they do not fully agree with my choices. And I think about how I am only 18, how I have my whole life ahead of me, how the decisions I make now will shape the person I become, how I have the opportunity to build a life that is truly mine. And I think about how grateful I am for my uncle's words, for the clarity they gave me, for the permission I felt to consider a different path. And I think about how I need to continue this conversation, not just with my uncle but with my parents, with mentors, with people who can help guide me. And I think about the research I need to do, the programs I need to explore, the applications I need to submit, the future I need to build. And I think about how I am scared, so scared, because this is a big decision, a life-altering decision, and I do not want to make a mistake, do not want to look back in 20 years and regret the choices I made, but I also know that the biggest mistake would be to live someone else's life, to spend decades in a career that does not fulfill me just because it was the expected path. And I think about how I need to trust myself, need to believe that I know what is best for me, need to have the courage to follow my heart even when it is hard. And I think about how I want to be an educator, a different kind of educator. Someone who makes learning joyful and meaningful. Someone who helps children discover the wonder of the world. Someone who shapes the next generation of thinkers and problem solvers. And I think about how that is a noble goal, a worthy goal, a goal that can bring me the growth and fulfillment and balance that I am seeking. And I think about how I will find my way, one step at a time, one decision at a time, one conversation at a time, and I will build a life that is mine, a life I am proud of, a life that makes a difference. And I think about how that is everything, how that is enough, how that is me.